Right, so in today's video, as part of our autumn lawn care plan, we're going to be aerating this entire space and we're going to be top dressing it too. At the time of recording, it is mid-September, and what it's about now is actually getting this lawn ready for winter, and that's where aeration is going to come into play. So there's two main ways you can aerate your lawn. The first of which is using solid tine. So that's having a tine similar to what you'd have on a garden fork, which is completely solid. You poke it into the ground and it just punctures little holes throughout the space. You can also hollow tine too, and it's hollow tining that I'm going to be doing today. But before I talk about why I'm hollow tining today, let's get the lawnmower, let's give the lawn a cut and bring the height down just ever so slightly. Now I've cut the lawn a little bit shorter just because we are going to be getting on and top dressing it after we've done the hollow tining, and it's better for your lawn just to be a little bit shorter just so you can more easily brush and kind of rake that top dressing about and getting a nice level surface. Now, like I've said in most of my videos recently, the key question you really need to be asking yourself before you do anything to your lawn and anything in the garden for that matter is, why are you doing it? And you've got to think, well, why am I aerating today? Well, first and foremost, the problem this lawn's always had is like retention of moisture. It holds on to too much moisture through the winter, and with us having the garage and the really high fence and wall up at the back, it just means that this space doesn't really get a lot of sun. Throughout the winter, that water can't evaporate and the soil stays sort of almost waterlogged. You can see we've got all these wooden borders around the outside of the lawn. It's almost like enclosed. There's nowhere really for the water to run off. If you've been around this channel for a while, you'll know that I installed a drain across the garden here and down the centre here back in April time. You know, the intention of that is to actually help with the drainage, but the soil's always going to become sodden. So what we're doing first and foremost with aerating this space, and specifically hollow tining it, is we're allowing the water to be able to move through the soil. Now, depending on the type of lawn you've got will depend on, firstly, do you even need to hollow tine? And secondly, almost how often you've got to. Where I live, and with this being a new build garden, there's quite a lot of heavy clay that makes up this soil. I have got on and actually removed a lot of the clay and put some decent topsoil down, but still, with that clay being below, it holds on to the moisture a lot. So by hollow tining and puncturing holes into the profile, it means the water can more easily get down and not just sit on the surface, you know, causing disease on the plant. It's also about oxygenating the soil too. So, you know, the bacteria in the soil profile is what's keeping your plant nice and healthy. If you get your soil right, you'll get your plant right. What happens is every time it rains, the water squeezes air out of the soil, and that's all that air that the bacteria needs to thrive. So again, punching these holes is going to allow that air to get down, the oxygen to get into the soil profile, improve the microbial development down below where the roots are, and in turn it's going to be great for the plants. And also, as well, as the holes start to collapse in on themselves, it's going to create all like small fissures as well throughout the entirety of the soil, further aerating it too. So if I just pause here for a second, you can see that we've got all these cores that are coming out of the soil, and just move a few out of the way. There you can see we've got these holes that run right down, and you can see how long some of these cores are that we're removing. It's going to enable loads and loads of air to get down into that soil. So ideally you want to be doing this when the soil has got a little bit of moisture in there, because it's going to make it much easier for your aerator to go down into your soil. So less of me waffling, let's get this on a time lapse and let's aerate the entire space. yeah, I'm not sure white was the best colour to wear when, you know, hollow tying into space, but there we go. It's done. It took around about an hour and a half or so, give or take. So there's a couple of different things you can do at this stage. You can leave it as is and let those holes slowly close up over time. But what we're going to do, like I said at the start, is we're going to top dress the space. Now what you could have done is left all those cores knocking about on the lawn that you pulled out, and then use your scarifier to pulverise them and then just rake it about, and that then would act as a top dressing. And the massive advantage to that is all the cores that we pulled out, you know, decent topsoil, but they had a lot of good bacteria within them. So, you know, breaking them back down into the soil is going to enable all that good bacteria to be recycled back into the space. But what I'm going to be using today instead is a 70-30 top dressing mix. So the advantage of using something like this is that it contains quite a lot of sand, and what that's going to enable us to do is get quite a smooth surface across the rest of the lawn. And also, as we get further into the autumn now and we get more rain and the temperature starts to get a little bit cooler, the ground's going to get a little bit softer too. So this sand's just going to help firm things up, and it does contain 30% topsoil as well. So like I said before about taking those cores out, containing that good bacteria, the 30% of the soil is going to help retain some moisture, it's going to help retain nutrients and, you know, provide a home for that bacteria then. And that moves us on to probably the disadvantage of using sand, is the fact that it's inert. It's not going to hold on to any moisture, it's not going to hold on to any good bacteria, it's just going to be there. Some people do say that it improves drainage, and I've posted videos in the past about its drainage properties as well, and technically yes it does, but that's more probably important if you're working on a golf course, and really I haven't got a golf course. So I'm just going to dump out the bag, and there's a few different ways you can actually go about spreading this. One of the ways is just using a landscaping rake, and the other is just using a broom just to brush it about, because you want to get it as smooth as possible. The tooth end isn't really going to be great because of how much sand we've got, so we can roughly move it like this, but then you are going to want to use the sort of the flat edge to get that smooth surface as well. Now just a normal hard bristle garden brush is going to be really good at just smoothing it out across the lawn. And what else it'll enable to happen as well is for all that existing grass to poke through the top dressing. You can fling it about using a shovel, and that is one way to spread it around your lawn. However, I'm not going to do that, only because with this space being quite small, I'm going to end up flinging sand all over the shop, and I don't really fancy having sand all over the patio or all in the stones. Something else I think is worth mentioning as well is this is important depending on kind of how you're cutting your lawn. So the fact that I'm getting on here with a cylinder mower means that I need quite a smooth surface because I'm cutting the grass quite short. If you've got kind of a longer grass, let's say 30 mil, or you're cutting it at like 40, 45 mil, something quite long, then top dressing with a 70-30 mix is probably going to be overkill for you, because it's not really adding any real benefit. If you're cutting with a rotary at 30-35 mil, then you don't need your surface to be like glass. You need it to be smooth, obviously, but you don't need it to be glass-like. Whereas this surface that I've got, I'm cutting usually around about 15 mil, and because of that, I need to have a really smooth surface to be able to get a nice even cut, because the shorter you cut, the more obvious those imperfections in the level become. So it's not about coming in today and making a massive amendment to the level. It's about just ever so slightly refining that level. But also as well, some of this sand's falling down. It's a very minute version of like a soil exchange that they would do on a golf course. Think about how many cores I took off this soil. It's really not that much. You know, a few bucketfuls, it's not going to change the complexion of your lawn. But if you do a process like this year in, year out, let's say once or twice a year, you are going to start to see a change in your soil, particularly if you've got the right grass plant. So you might have seen before, I showed a little clip of how long the roots were. And those roots are under the ground now doing their thing, you know, already aerating the soil themselves, changing the complexion and the soil biology beneath the actual blades of grass. And that's really what you want to be happening. It's about improving it slowly over time. Yeah, I could dig this entire space up now, and what is it, USGA sandy soil sort of thing, and have like an actual golf course. But the problem with having really sandy soil, even the problem with, you know, adding this sometimes to your lawn, is the fact that because it can't hold on to those nutrients, you have to feed your lawn more, you have to water your lawn more, and then when you water your lawn more, it washes those nutrients out faster, which means you need to feed even more. Right, let's get another bag, let's get this time lapse so you don't want to hear me waffling. Let's crack on. Right, so there we go, the lawn has been aerated, it's been top dressed as well, and all we've got to do now is just let nature do its thing. If you've not got any rain coming, you can water the spacer, but make sure you water it in quite well, and no overseeding needs to take place because the lawn is going to naturally thicken itself up. So thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, feel free to give it a like. As ever, the Instagram is in the description below, and if you haven't already and you want to follow along with more lawn tip videos like this, then consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching.